Call to order. It is, well, I've got 6:07. Monday, August 12th. Thank you everybody for coming. We have one member of the public, Aaron. Chairman, no. How you doing?
Right, yes.
Hey, Aaron.
Hi. Did you have anything specific with public speak, or are you saying today?
This is really telecommunications, but it is in the sense that it's communications via digital technology, and like it would be really great if there was a way of having a subscription to the calendar, so that because I almost went to this meeting last Monday, but I guess I got changed, and I missed the last one because it wasn't publicized. So, and it would be really very useful to have something that I could subscribe to and be able to.
Can we put them on the mailing list?
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's actually something that we are working to implement citywide.
Yeah.
That I'm hoping should be out pretty soon.
Yeah, on the static calendar.
So there's a calendar, but also like email, like weekly email, something that says like what the
City
upcoming
agenda.
meetings are and if things get rescheduled and whatnot. So that's something that we are hoping to implement sort of globally for the whole city pretty soon. I was actually just having a conversation with the mayor about that, so apologies for the inconvenience. But I hope that we'll have that fixed pretty soon.
Did we talk about this at the last meeting? About that idea? It might have been a different committee.
I don't know, that must have been a different, I don't recall that.
I discussed it in the there's like a new publication or public speaking or public outreach committee, and I interested there.
Yeah, I think they have been thinking about that.
Very cool. All right, so it's a short agenda today. Basically, we're here to review and talk about the presentation that we intend to give. We had reserved the conference room upstairs for this Wednesday. That may be a bit expedient, and it has been suggested that maybe we consider a different time or postponing it so that we can get more advertising out.
Can I just, do we have to review and approve the minutes from last meeting?
Of course.
Of course, sure.
Did we get a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah. I did not.
Neither
did I. I think I got them
I
today.
think I read them while I was writing.
Maybe I like
Actually, it would be useful to be able to be on this list, so I could like be informed about what is going on.
I don't have a problem with him being on it temporarily until the city has a mechanism in
Yeah, I
place.
think we'd have to get Greg to add him since it's Greg's.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him and see
Okay.
if I can take over the mailing list. I'm the clerk anyway, so I'll probably up my.
Yeah, I don't have an objection to, I mean, it's public. Everything we send in an email
Right.
related to this is public anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have no
I'll
problem.
get Greg tomorrow, and then before I get out of here, give me your email, and I'll send you an email and let you know what's up.
Can you make sure I'm on that?
It could well be you guys aren't on it either, so make sure I get all three of your emails before we get out of here today.
Given that two members are absent and 2 members have not read, do we want to postpone the approval of the minutes to our next meeting? I mean, we probably still have the votes, but I'm just wondering, like, if it would be nice to give the other members the privilege of.
Sure.
Is there a motion?
Motion to continue the approval of the minutes to our next
I'll
meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
I couldn't even find him now. Got too much jobs going on. Yeah. Going back to that, I wouldn't have a problem because I had reached out to Jason and Tom this week saying we're not publicizing the public meeting, so maybe nobody's going to show up. So it would probably be good to wait. Yes.
So I think
Ambitious on that time.
we need to select I think there are a couple of things we need to do, but I think the first one is select another date and then set up, and I would volunteer to do this just as we go through the presentation and start looking at stuff and handing out assignments, have somebody project manage this through the actual date of the presentation so that we can make sure we keep on top of it outside of the meeting.
Okay.
So I totally agree with that. The one thing I would say also is that we as a group have been sometimes great and sometimes not so great at following up with homework assignments in between meetings. So given that there's nothing else on our agenda, I do think we should try and finalize our presentation as much as possible this evening, and then if a non-quorum subcommittee wants to go and work on actually like finalizing the actual presentation or anything like that, I'm totally cool with that. But let's see how much we can get done tonight, because we haven't always been great at actually connecting and following up in between meetings, and I want to make sure when we do this next time we do it for real.
Yeah, no, my suggestion was going to be similar to that, but just to make sure that we have a date and sort of a schedule of announcement. I don't want to keep rolling it out because we're coming up against, so like you said, if we leave here with in good shape, then really the homework assignment is advertising and outreach.
Yep.
So
So are we talking pushing it out a week, pushing it to next month?
I think next month, I think everybody, I know as a school parent, I'm pretty flat out until after the 9th, which is the first day of
That's when
kindergarten.
Okay,
That's
so-
they start school on the 3rd, but kindergarten doesn't start until a week
And that
after
would give
that.
us another meeting to, just finalize all the changes we made and be ready to go public.
So I think even like sometime the second or third week of September would be good for me, and I think it would give people who everybody's going to be in that fall mindset after Labor Day.
working backwards from Tom, this needs to be on the ballot for the MLP.
Oh, so yeah,
Or
that's sort of a separate process. Like that, in a weird way, that has left this committee.
Okay.
As in, like, we wrote, we prior
We're not actively in like balloting that or anything like that.
well,
Didn't it just pass again?
right. So we sent a recommendation to the city council in April saying we can do this in a way that's non-binding, so you can take a vote, take 2 votes, put it on the ballot. That gives you the power to move forward with this if you want to, but doesn't obligate you to everything. And we think that you should definitely do that because this might be a really great idea. That was essentially what we said.
But this public meeting is not in the steps of MLP.
It could be that some people find this meeting helpful, but any sort of actual advocacy in favor of a ballot question would, as far as I can tell, since none of us receive any money from this, you're all free to advocate for something like that, and I certainly will be. But I think the only thing we're not allowed to do is serve as treasurers or handle any money if there's like a ballot committee. Just like the school building committee did plenty of advocacy for the school building because it was kind of their idea.
Yeah.
But any sort of political activity advocating for the establishment or for the passage of that ballot question would have to be done by a separate organization, which has yet to be formed as far as I know.
That's actually one of the reasons why I have not been actively trying to get on this committee, is because I kind of see my role as being that person. Who advocates it for it.
Yeah, well,
without-
there's definitely a role for that. I actually think that the less that we discuss ballot committees or
Yeah,
political
no,
organizing.
I just
is
I was
complicated.
unclear as to what the scope of
I
the
think
public meeting we're organizing now is. It's just a presentation on the survey,
Well,
or
you know,
status to date.
I
or-
think that the idea is that we do, we present on the survey, we present on our work up to this point, and we solicit feedback from the public who might have, because the sort of product we're working towards is a report to the mayor and the city council, but most of the mayor makes those kinds of decisions, and that report should include, just like any planning project should include public feedback.
So I'd love to be able to, like you were saying about the presentation, do as much work tonight as we can just to get some kind of draft of or outline of what we want for slides. Also select the most meaningful charts and graphs from here. And then with the idea of we put this out even before, like in advertising the public meeting, put this stuff out so that people have a chance to review it, and we can put the slide deck out as a PDF to the general public, and I can publicize on the Telcom Facebook page, and then also to every Easthampton Facebook group except for the arguments page, which I won't touch with a 10-foot pole.
The City of Easthampton has a new Facebook page.
Yeah, and then we
Which
can
I
all
think
as
is a good
individuals.
avenue to use for this.
Yeah.
So what was that?
The City of Easthampton has an official Facebook page, and each department can post to it about city business. So
Maybe we can ask
no
the mayor.
trolls.
Maybe we can ask the mayor to invite us on the mayoral update leading up to the leading
Yeah, I
up to
think
the
she's driving a Facebook page.
or and then the Stan also recommended we do some record some PSAs. I think that's in the minutes from last meeting.
So,
Yeah.
I'm seeing Wednesday, September the 11th, as having the upstairs meeting room be wide open.
Is that going to conflict with anything that
911.
9/11, any kind of
Like
tributes?
like
and
evening
memorials?
stuff. I mean, I not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I just brought it
I
up.
mean, I think there's usually, like, I think the police and fire will have a small ceremony during the day,
Right.
but I think if it's at like 6:30 p.m.,
It should be good.
I think it should be. I mean, yeah.
Did you know that 9/11 and 19 is a perfect
Oh, wow.
numerical
Look at that.
palindrome?
How often does that come around?
Whoa.
I mean,
It's an omen.
Yeah.
Every 13 months, I guess.
I'm trying to see what other, because that next week is not great for the upstairs room. Although we could do the 16th, Monday the 16th. The only thing meeting is the Manhattan Rail Trail Committee, and that I don't believe takes the, they're in
I
conference
think
room 1.
Wednesday or Thursday is a better day than Monday. We were talking about this last month and a month before, so I'm all right.
We'll go with the 11th.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, and we can reach out and just inquire if there's going to be any like local events that could cause a conflict. If so, I mean, I don't think a Monday would be a complete deal breaker if we want to do it on the 16th.
Yeah, I don't have a BPW meeting on that Wednesday, so it can be earlier. We had only put
Yeah, we
this one back.
have meetings on the same Wednesdays.
Okay.
All right, that's, I forgot about city council, so that's a conflict for you usually, yeah. All right, I'm just gonna put September 11th, Wednesday or Monday, September 16th, was it?
Yeah,
Okay, and just for the minutes.
I guess we can work that out with Barb.
Yeah, I'll ask her if there's any conflicts on those days.
I'm just looking at the agenda. But while we're on that topic, we are currently slated to meet on Labor Day. I don't have a problem with this, but I figure some people are going to be out of town.
I don't have a problem with it personally, but
I don't have a problem with it either, because the
Usually
next
around.
day is school day, so.
Okay, well, if everyone's on the same, like, then we can just do that, but,
Building's open and accessible.
I've got a key, so
Then yes.
the building's always open. And there's also, the licensing board is also meeting, so, you know, there's some stuff happening. Yeah, if that's fine for everyone else, then I'm on vacation that whole week, so but here. So
Staycation.
yeah, I love staycations. Staycations are the best.
We've scheduled a public meeting for every night of year.
Yeah, almost actually.
Excellent.
But so yeah, okay, then great. We can meet on that Monday and discuss plans for let's tentatively say the 11th, and we'll if it looks like there's going to be some
Large public event.
That's. I mean, last year I think there was something, but it was during the day. So if that is the case again, it won't be an issue. I'll call the mayor about that tonight and just see if she's aware of anything.
Excellent.
And if there's a problem, I'll let you know. And otherwise,
Great. Okay. So was any preliminary work done on any particular point slides or concept?
No, I think we need to decide what information we want in those slides, and if that presentation is somehow you're going to be using it as you present this, you're which we're going to copy of
I think that would make sense.
speech, or if it's going to be a separate presentation.
right.
So yeah, I think that's what we need to decide, like how these slides are going to be presented, if they're going to be like following your stuff, and if that means we have to augment what you've written here with any extra information. But
Well, I mean, I think we can put in a couple introductory slides.
maybe a montage of like different news stories, or just show towns that are doing it, some kind of map.
That might be a cool idea. I could if somebody followed up with me about this, because it's going to be crazy next couple of weeks for me. It wouldn't be difficult for me to build a map of communities that had in Massachusetts that had adopted.
Completed and pending and
Yeah.
proposed.
Right, as long as as long as I had an up-to-date list, it would be very easy. I know GIS, I mean, obviously no GIS too. But yeah.
Should we have a slide about the history of the committee, you know?
I think it would probably not hurt to just put like the mission statement on a slide.
Yeah.
Just so the people, maybe that's 2 slides, but
Right.
yeah, we were formed this time. Here's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Just to give people some idea of why we're even
Yeah, that's
doing
good.
this.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
And then,
I feel like a slide with the different sorts of organizational, logistical arrangements that would be on the table. Public-private partnership, various ways of financing it. You know, like kind of the bigger picture breakdown.
What about a slide first of like giving them a little overview of how different towns have done it and what options
Yeah,
are available
yeah, yeah.
to us? Like here's WIP's full fiber, here's
Yeah.
Greenfield's
Right.
wireless,
That would be good.
here's what other towns are doing.
yeah, I think that
Give them some
it is good. Yeah, just sort of a recap of who we've like what we've learned. And I think that that's the important part that they walk away from this is somebody who hasn't been in all these meetings can get a recap of of the sorts of things we've learned about. Here's how communities are doing this, and we've met with people who would be willing to do it via public-private partnership. We've met with MLPs that would partner with us, and nothing's precluding us from just doing it on our own, for that matter. And have those conversations. Probably it makes sense to have a slide or 2 about MLPs, and I think that we, without getting into any hot water, can safely mention that we did recommend to the city council that a non-binding question to establish an MLP be placed on the ballot, and that the city council just voted twice to allow that.
And that it will in fact be on the ballot, right?
Well, if we hold this meeting on the 11th, the vote to actually put it on the ballot will be happening on the 18th.
Okay.
But I think we can, if they voted unanimously twice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say that this is going to happen, but I can say like,
It's anticipated.
pending final city council approval, this will be on the
And
ballot.
that's the last step, right?
Well, then the voters are, I guess, really the last step.
Well, but I mean, before it gets on the ballot.
Yes.
So if we give them some education on the network types, the MLP, the different types of partnerships or ways you can fund it, would it make sense to give them, we've already kind of broken down what our thinking in terms of budget is. Do we break it down at that point? Talk about, like, do we have to give them an education on the telephone poles and all the work that goes into that?
Did we kind of talked about this the last meeting. didn't we?
Right, we
Yeah.
had some diverging opinions on this
Yeah.
last time. And we've now had a month to think about it.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea because some people have assumed in conversations I've had, like, you guys are just, you think this is so easy, like you're just already making this decision. I've had one person in particular who's like, this is not something you want to rush into. Is it worth saying, hey, this is what, like, if we think it's going to be $10 to $15 million, here's, like, it's not $15 million worth of fiber optic cable, this is all the work, this is the make ready, this is what we have to, this is what would need to be done.
Yeah, I think we decided at the last meeting we should at least come up with a number. 10 to 15 is too wide a range for me. I mean, I think the 10 to 12 number is.
I mean, I think the guy from CenturyLink, or was that them, or what was the Matrix? Yeah. What am I saying? Yeah, the guy from the public private partnership guy. He quoted us 10 to 13.
Yeah.
I think so. We can just say like one person who knows this stuff
Right.
had quoted 10 to 13. That's not us saying
that's
that's what it's going to cost. We're saying preliminary estimates,
Right.
One
are that
industry
this,
expert.
this costs about so and so per square mile,
Right.
or this has cost other communities about so and so per square mile. Some persons quoted 10 to 13. There may be things about Easthampton. Easthampton's a very dense community, so there may be some opportunities for cost savings. But that is, if we're talking a conservative estimate, that's probably good. And I mean, I really do feel, the more I thought about that, the more I felt like if you don't bring a number up, the first, everyone who's sort of a little skeptical shows up is going to say, why aren't you saying what it's going to cost?
Right.
Why are you hiding this from us? So I think it'd be better to say, we're not saying it's going to be 10 to 13. What we are saying is that that's sort of consistent with what it's cost other municipalities.
Based on what our discussions with WIP, based on, this was sort of,
Right.
it's like unbeknownst to this second party verified that our.
Sean actually told me he thought 10 to 12 was high, the guy from Whittle. So, I think 10 to 12 is a safe number. So.
I think I was saying that I just wanted to keep it within an order of magnitude, just so if
Right.
there was a variance, if we put this off 5 years and suddenly we go back, I mean, I think I recently saw
Right.
something like the old North Star building. 4 years ago, that building in Hadley, they were thinking it was going to be $5 million to do it.
Right.
They put it off. It's 20 something now. So,
Well, one of
this
the
cost-
things I was charged with in the last meeting was cost of fiber optic cable, and it's actually been dropping. So
Oh, interesting. It's not.
it's actually been really steady. It kind of went up when they were wiring everything, 10 years ago, but it's leveled out. and
Is it
it's
a,
slid
where
away.
where is it manufactured? The bulk of fiber optic
Upstate
cable?
New York for a lot of them.
Corning
that
makes a lot of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actual fiber optic is much cheaper than any other type of cable. Copper is way more expensive.
Right.
because
Yeah.
it has copper in it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the labor is the labor of the make ready is the single biggest component. Is what everyone says. Having you know,
Right.
all of these line workers who, you know, all make, you know, respectable union wages, like all come up to move their individual line down 6 inches so that you can put your thing up, and then one pole you can't move it down, so you gotta buy a taller pole.
Any construction project is mostly labor, the materials are somewhat insignificant comparatively.
Good thing I would keep in mind, if our city did go toward what Greenfield did and did the wireless to home, I mean, that would cut the costs by roughly $800 or so per home for the
Right.
connection. Real
Right.
investment. Of course, we have to buy the transmitter or the receivers,
Yeah.
which would have an expense as well.
I think we could mention that with the, you know, also mention that, you know, there might be some issue with security there as opposed to fiber optics, so.
Also speed loss.
Right. This leads to my next thing, you know, we have numbers, we'll give them, but how many details do we give them? Do we tell them, you know, we have to do a pole survey, we have to run, you know, fiber optic?
What about like if this were to be approved, like some
Right.
kind of like timeline, not timeline estimate, but like here are the phases of a typical.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say.
I think it's just basically a guesstimate, like maybe like 5-year financial planning to give people would be a very valuable thing. Is in like if we can show that like in like 5 years like we'll be making even, and like that would definitely show.
I think if we just did a quick synopsis of the steps and then say something along the lines that, you know, from our research, this, you know, we can bond this in steps. And this isn't something that's bonded out for 50 years. We're talking 5 to 10 years, you know, and it's going to
I
pay.
think
Now,
Greenfield's
portion
bonded
of
for
it-
20, but I think Greenfield's bonded for 20, but that seems strange to me.
That
But
is very strange.
It just seems strange that, I mean, I know, like, how well are they doing given what happened to Greg?
Right.
You know, I wonder, but
What happened to Greg?
Greg was laid off after leaving the committee because he took to take that job. He and a bunch of other
his
people were.
budget, well, their budget was cut or their budget didn't
They've
have those
been
jobs.
like this anyway. I mean, they went through that first phase where they ramped up too fast and then ramped right back down, so.
Which is interesting, yeah.
Well, and they're also trying to do everything in-house, you know? So I think we want to
Yeah, I
avoid
haven't had
that
any
basically.
conversations with him since he left the committee.
I saw him last night actually. Fair Curzona. He doesn't seem too broken up about. I don't think he was having a great time, but whatever.
Yeah,
His
I
vague
think
alluded to that.
working with another with either like Westfield or Holyoke in doing something like getting a plan like that we can like share like use their at least infrastructure like their video plan, things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then like do creating a whole thing, a whole new system.
Yeah.
Just to do that.
Yeah.
So guys, let's try and stay focused
Yeah.
on what we're presenting and
Yeah.
not getting
So
too deep
after
into
the
policy.
phases of the project, could we then just go into the survey results?
I think that'd be good. So that we're basically like big picture. We're saying here's who we are. This is what we've learned about fiber so far.
Right.
We did a survey. This is what we saw from the survey, and then we open it up to the public. That seems like a manageable amount of content.
We shouldn't get hung up on the financing or any of that stuff. We can throw some numbers out there, but you don't have to talk about the bonding issue because that's really on the city. No.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, there's a million ways you could do it, and it's not on us one way or another.
Yeah.
I think what's really more interesting is like here are some models for how other people have done it. Kind of something to think about, and then just because people are going to come and say, well, what about this? And
Right.
since we're not actually able to respond when they say that, it's a lot easier if we can like up front say, this is some stuff we can look at, and then if someone says you should explore this, we say thank you, we make a note.
Yeah,
To offer to put this into a draft form in slides and then get everybody's feedback. We can have it out
Okay.
in the next couple of days. And see if I'll just pull stuff from all the various minutes and meetings we've had with Westfield and
Right.
I think I think that like having like some like charts like showing the other towns and like kind of like when they broke even and what their like acceptance rate was, things like that, just to show like this is like this is how these cities like fared once they had begun the process, and like things like that would be
I think it's
useful to show.
worth discussing, you know, in the public-private, or like if we were to outsource this to, say, Whip City or Westfield,
Yeah.
talk about like the HUD, maybe, you know, that would be in some of this background material, like, because the first question is probably, well, the first question is going to be how much is it going to cost, the second question is going to be how are you going to maintain it, and that discussion of here's what happens if you, and then here's if you outsource it to Westfield or Greenfield or some other entity, you are not going to have to take on new overhead with the
And then maybe
very little overhead with funding any kind of municipal position or something.
maybe mention tiered service
Yeah.
at that point too.
We're also going to have to talk about the idea of, unlike Holyoke, extending this to both residents and businesses, and what that would mean in terms
Right.
of service level agreements and
Right.
just complication.
That almost jives with the tier service things that we
Right.
talk about,
Yeah.
3 tiers and
Yeah.
platinum tiers for businesses.
So I feel like a lot of this written presentation ties so much to that, but once we really move, kind of outline what we're going to do for the slides, we probably need to adapt this a bit, and maybe expand in some places and contract in others.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I've done in the past when I've helped people with presentations, we normally come up with a script where we have sections of the talk and we put the slide next to them so that you know when to advance the slide and what you're talking to.
Right.
And so you can very easily, you don't have to look back, and you also don't need to
Yeah.
talk, you don't need to reiterate all the language on the slide that's behind you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, that's a great
Yeah.
idea, and it'll save time and give the public, more time to
Yeah.
speak.
Yeah.
Because I will say, like, having read things this long into a public hearing, it is, for you as the presenter, agonizing. Just sitting here reading line after line as like in just silence with nothing else. Like it's like the first big public hearing we had, I had this like 2-page statement I brought in, and I thought like it's 2 pages, whatever, and it felt like 4 years.
Also, again, you can boil this down to maybe you want to write yourself notes and break it down into bullet points, so you're not necessarily just reading. You can
Yeah,
be speaking
and-
conversationally and flowing
And
nicely.
if it like tied in with the presentation, and like that would, and like so that, and it wasn't just reading this. It was more like this slide shows it, and then explain.
You should be just presenting your main points on the slide,
Yeah.
not necessarily reiterating
Yeah.
what you're saying. So if we can get you practiced, delivering it, then it'll be fine. It'll just kind of flow.
Probably once we have the PowerPoint, then we can really edit this and, come up with something that syncs up.
And I would be willing to read the entire thing out, but also I'd be willing to break it up and have other people cover different aspects of it as well.
Yeah,
It would be fine.
I mean, you could speak to the history and the reason for the committee somewhat if you wanted to.
sure. I mean, if you want me to pick up a part of it, that's fine. If you want me to just sit there, that's also fine. I mean, I really don't care. I will do whatever I can to be helpful or not. That's
Yeah, I'm happy
I
to do
would
it.
limit it to probably 2, maximum
Yeah.
3 people actually talking, you know.
Yep.
I think it's better to have things flow, you know, and the PowerPoint's gonna do most of the talking, people are visual, you know.
yeah.
Go back and watch all the Steve Jobs keynotes.
All right, fair enough. But we talked about that at our meeting before the presentation. We have PowerPoint, maybe edit this a bit, and we'll see what makes sense.
Okay, about that sharing. So, if you want to shoot something out to the group,
Yep.
to avoid open meeting problems, should we limit that to a
Subgroup, I think.
subgroup?
Yeah, for discussion, because we can't all.
Yeah, because we can't all be online like saying, hey, could you change the color in the slide or
Yeah.
whatever.
So would it be the kind of thing we would work up the draft that would then be presented on the second, like as near final a draft as we can?
Yeah.
And then
That's the
thinking
idea.
The second would be that last.
Then we all have a
go
chance to
through.
weigh in, and then we send it out the door.
So is it 3 or 4 people is the maximum we can have?
We could have up to 4 since it's a 9-person committee. We could have up to 4 people chatting about something without violating open meeting law. So I would volunteer to be part of that.
I would certainly volunteer to be part of that.
I'll volunteer not to be a part of it. I really can. I don't know.
All right.
That's what I,
It might be good for both of these guys to be involved. How many people can
We
be
can
on?
only do 4.
4, okay.
And I assume Paul's going to want.
I would think so, yeah.
So
Well, when you guys decide which one you be on there, and I think that'll work fine.
More?
okay. So
Rock, scissors, paper?
we're the subcommittee. Cool.
I know a creative way we could decide this.
Next year's Pensic War.
I was gonna say, that's how he hurt his arm, man. He lost
Veteran of,
it. Yes, and
It'll be fine.
he took a lance.
Would you like to?
no,
I have a.
that's completely fine.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
The other option is, do we want to have an interim meeting, even if it's a quick one, just to review the work of the committee to date, give input so we're not scrambling on the last meeting before the public meeting, or is that something,
If we feel the need
I
to
guess you could call for
hold a meeting, Paul, it's your prerogative to call a special meeting whenever you need to. So,
Yeah, I'd say let you guys work and see where you're at in a couple of weeks, and if you want input, call for it. If not, we'll see you on the 2nd.
okay.
What if you called for it and you didn't get a quorum?
And that sucks.
Well, it would be the 4 of you, and you'd need one outside voice.
Right, okay, that's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, like, because I wouldn't want to call one and then not have, like, could you call one and still get input even if you didn't have enough people?
We can have yeah, sure. We can have a meeting without a quorum where you just discuss things, but you can't take any votes.
Right.
But this is what you and I were doing for the survey when you were putting it together, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's pretty much things done.
But it sounds like a few we did last week.
We didn't talk about any business.
Do you want to go over these and select the relevant questions? I think
The ones that were here are the same as the ones that were.
Yes.
So there's not additional input, or just...
So
I
let's.
just went with that subset that was done by the cutoff date.
We know these slides. Let's go through them. Or my suggestion is that we go through them and we just sort of yes or no. Do we need this?
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, so the first one, which pond best describes you? This is a question about, are they a resident, a business owner, what percentage of respondents we are? I personally don't know if this is the most relevant slide, but
I don't think we need to include it in this form, but we can have a basic slide that said how many respondents we had and how they break down. I mean, you can
Yeah,
just say
because
the
we got-
overwhelming majority is
We're
residents.
residential.
I actually think there's almost something valuable about it. I mean, I wish this was a pie chart or something, but like.
Yeah, pie chart's fine.
But if we
have the power to make.
yeah,
Right.
I believe in our ability to make it. Several of us know Microsoft Excel, but like I think it might help to just say like, here's your universe of who actually responded.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah. I think a pie chart is more effective than the way they have it.
So that gets a yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Scatter plot.
So if when you buy a rent-a-home, how important would the quality speak? This one was only responded to by 4 people.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually relevant to say we tried the business, maybe we'll try it again later, a specific one.
Yeah.
But we just didn't, I mean, they'll see it from that first slide that we just did not get enough business input to really.
Right.
And honestly, if we're seeing less than like 50 people responding to a question,
That's not.
we should probably throw it out just for like small sample size.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So number 4, I thought this was a good one. Which activities are people using the internet for at home? I thought it was surprising how many people said they were working from home. This is a very cool, important
I
slide.
think this is a yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think highlighting which stuff we want to talk about in each slide, like noting some of that will be, like once we have these in a format we can look at on a slide.
Yeah.
Now, would we want to
This
say,
chart could be
like,
improved graphically, but
Yes.
I think it should be included.
would we want to even break this down a little further and say like this percentage of respondents has indicated that they were, used the internet to work from home, and this percentage uses it for, the streaming television, which is.
Well, these are like, you would check all that apply, so every respondent could have had multiple go through and,
That's worth noting.
Oh, I also want to say there's also the anecdotal information, which, the comments, so I'll
Highlight
get
some
some of that and have some pull quotes
Right.
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
that relate to each.
Like after a slide, have like, oh, so and so. So this, especially if you can find people who disagree on something, that would be great. It sounds like there's a little bit of an echo chamber at times, but like there
There
definitely
were
were.
enough people that
Yeah,
were
there's-
as somebody said something really effective, don't mess with capitalism, you communist.
I'm certain I know who that was.
Don't interfere with charter's ability to make profit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I would, pull some, I can pull all of those and we can go through them and select relevant quotes.
So, which devices people will use primarily for accessing the internet? What do you guys think?
I think it's interesting that as many people indicated smartphone was their primary device, which I think is, the trend.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Like wireless devices are the majority of things here. And I mean, like, I don't know how deep down we should drill into this, but I think that's valuable. And
Can we reduce that to a single statistic that is almost as interesting, like X% are using wireless primarily or something, or?
Well, that would
I'm
probably
looking at this, and half of the devices are not wireless. I mean, you have laptops and desktops, and the first one, so that's half the pie chart.
Right.
laptops
Both
are
my laptop and desktop are wireless.
Yeah.
Wise guy.
No, I would think, maybe if you're going to do this, you would just have a photo of each kind of device or an illustration of each kind of device and the percentage or the
Right.
numbers within Easthampton and be able to say,
Not to go backwards, but just to clarify.
Yeah.
You have a router and then it's wireless in the house?
Correct.
Yeah, which is the same thing I have. But see, I kind of I'm thinking
My
about
old
the
house,
wiring.
I had Cat5 to every wall of every
Right.
room.
So it's
Now,
wireless, okay.
yeah.
So I take back my statement.
When I
Okay.
remodeled it, I
All right.
hardwired everything, but
Yeah.
the new house did not come pre-equipped.
Absolutely, no wireless is the new paradigm, yes.
I think it's an interesting, I don't think we necessarily, number 6, how many internet devices.
This would be so cool if we could have asked this question like 10 years ago and show where we are now.
I mean, I think there's like, stop. Anyone push back when I'm like, no, we should have this, because obviously we don't want to overwhelm people. But this, I think, is an interesting thing. The Easthampton households, most of them have more than 3 internet-capable devices in them, which is
I think boiling it down to just that accomplishes
Right.
more than putting up a whole chart. But saying that we found that the vast majority have more than 3.
You could probably find a Pew
Yes.
research poll or something.
Yeah.
There has to be information out there because they do this every
Right, yeah.
few
Yeah.
years where Americans have X number of devices. You know, in
Yeah.
2005 they had X number of internet capable
Not to
devices.
mention your pot chart is an upside down peace sign, and then we'll anti-communist crowd going again.
Do we want to include 6 though?
I don't know if we need to do that, but we could have, you could say the primary device for most is, this is how you do it, and then you, as an aside comment, however, most
Exactly.
homes in Easthampton have 3 to 5, or the overwhelming majority have 3+ devices at their home.
Perfect, that's
Right.
exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So how many people in each home are sharing the internet service? Number 7.
I don't think we need that.
No.
And we can also
have a full
right.
report, like
Yeah.
we can give this to everybody
Or make available.
and make it available,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we don't necessarily need to speak to
Yeah,
every
we
single
should have
one.
a pile of these so
Yeah.
people can bring it home
I'll
and show
have
it to
it in
the
a better
family.
form that actually has the
Cool.
easier to read.
Alright, so this is an interesting one. If you currently pay for cable television, have you considered cutting the cord, or have you already done so?
So I think we can group all the cord cutting stuff probably into one slide and one comment.
Right.
Basically saying, here's the trajectory.
Right.
Much of this stuff is going to be streaming, and eventually everybody's going to. Channels are going to become apps. They already are.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you're going to be streaming, like most people are going to be streaming. And it's interesting that most people just don't think. 5-10 years ago, most people would have said, like, that seems too difficult for me. And now that line is creeping into people as they're getting older, are comfortable doing this, which I think is the major takeaway.
Yeah, that's one sentence. So
Yeah.
people are either thinking of doing it or they've already done it.
So it's just like maybe 1 to 2 slides distilling all the cord cutting slides into, or the cord cutting charts into like, this is a thing that's happening. It's gonna be happening whether you like it or not. This is where things are going. We don't have to be
So
that
the next,
conversational.
so this guy, so 8, 9, and 10 are all getting consolidated, basically.
You could actually even, well, I don't know if you can ask, they can't ask questions of us. Can we ask questions of that group? Could you take an instant poll, like just, how many people have a streaming device in their home?
Yeah, I think we could do that.
I think if we just show of hands, I don't see any reason. It's just
It just reinforces the point.
yeah.
I think.
No, I think
Or it completely undercuts your.
9 and 10 I think are less because they're sort of this. How difficult do you think it's sort of about people's perception of a possible future action? I don't know.
I mean, I think the major point here
one
is
is
I have already cut the
Right,
cord.
and that's
Yeah,
that's representative.
Which is the.
So yeah, we could just run them into one slide. The three of them.
Alright, 11, 10.
No,
that's a business.
Let's just, can we just agree to not with the business things like,
There's just too few.
Not certified as certified.
I think we should say something at the very beginning. We did survey businesses, we just didn't get enough input, so if we want to go back later and
Right.
do a separate, more focused survey.
and we can make sure to invite the Chamber of Commerce, like have the Chamber of Commerce send out an invite saying, like, please come, we want to hear from business owners. So like,
That's
Yeah.
good because
Yeah.
we're coming up, I know Mo puts out her newsletter at the end of every month. I think she said the 21st or 22nd is when she needs content, so I can,
Excellent.
if we can get it finalized, we can, with a meeting date, I can ask her to put something in her next
yeah.
Yeah, we'll have
newsletter.
that. So it looks like all of these down to 18, 19, 21.
Sorry, because we have one.
Let's do 20. Business questions.
We kind of
These are all business, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. No, I got it.
So I think 21 was back in the bulk of the
21 is very interesting to me. At least.
Which internet service? Yes. So obviously the majority of people using Charter, I believe that people who I've spoken to who use Verizon DSL, not that there are that many, but I know some people personally who don't even have the ability to get Charter. You use Verizon?
No, I've got Charter.
Or you got Charter? Somebody who
I was using Verizon up to a couple of years ago, and I got fed up with their stupid USB device.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the cellular data, I mean,
It's so small.
so small. I would somehow expect people to, I mean, it just maybe goes to show that the rates are exorbitant and
It's a lot for.
like, this points to the fact that 5G is probably not going to get as much take initially as they would like, given they're going to have to come up with a different way to structure the plan and structure the price,
Right.
because it's that per gigabyte cost is so high comparatively.
You have to worry about Elizabeth Warren and the federal government too.
She's
She's looking for votes there. I mean, this is the federal government, we're talking 2030 at least.
I mean, do we need to do 21? Don't we all know that
I think
the
that-
elephant in the room?
It's kind of striking though to be like,
Yeah.
this market
still enough.
is owned by one company.
Yeah, I think it has a strong visual.
Because there's like, you know,
Do we put this at the beginning, like right after the number of
I kind of like it
Satisfied
early.
customers?
Yeah.
right after the demographic breakdown of Easthampton, say, and all these people are using, like statistically, this is what 99% is Charter right now.
I think that's what's driving the crowd, to get away from them.
I think 22 in line with that too is a good service averages.
Yeah, although, and like, I mean, it's not, multiple times a year, and like, and that's still something, but,
And that's for more than an hour.
yeah.
That's half.
Yeah. I think it's very interesting to tie.
It's interesting
together.
that most people don't remember the last time, though. That also speaks to the more casual user that
Yeah,
probably
Or service areas.
Yeah.
right closer you are to the building.
Yeah, I think that that would be something that would be very important, like for the businesses, because and if you're like
Yeah.
if you like have like your locally hosted website or something.
Could I ask you a question in terms of, I mean, we all, or it's, people have said to us that, you know, these companies are trying to get every last dollar out of their copper infrastructure. How long, does anybody have a number, how many more years are left in that infrastructure? Like, or is it indefinite? Could they just...
I think that in terms of copper, and like copper is really only to the last couple yards, and I think that on the poles everything is now copper, is now fiber, and like it's just like going those last few feet, that's the issue.
Cross the line.
TSL is kind of viewed as yesterday's technology. Just-
Oh, yeah. I mean, but as far as this old infrastructure, I mean, how long would it be before Charter got fiber to the home? They advertised like a mix network or whatever.
Yeah,
Because they can't legally advertise it.
That's how I know.
Yeah.
So do we want to do 22?
22?
I think it ties with 26.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I was going to say the same.
Totally,
So we can consolidate those two.
Yeah.
So maybe
I think
even
points to-
22, 25, 26, and 21 could all kind of be in the same slide.
I think 25 is the main point.
Yeah.
Like, the main point is how satisfied are you and then you break it down, then you talk about that, and then here's what's in that number.
I don't even think it needs to be a chart for these. I think it can be, this is the percent of people who have experienced a service outage over, I think we can just group it into a bullet point and not have it be a whole thing.
Right.
So this whole page can be consolidated.
But I do think 24 should be its own thing.
Okay, bundling is out. Okay, cool. 23, 25, and 26.
So, all right.
So here.
Did you mean to eliminate 24 or to do it on its own?
Do 24 on
And
its
then,
own.
yeah, probably combine these as the first question, and then you can bring up the bundling one on the next slide.
Because that is,
Well, that could go with 29 too. So the bundle, like we could talk about 24, 29, we've been talking about 28. Because one of the barriers to the take rate is gonna be, what we think one of the barriers is the bundling.
right. So if you have
This
28,
overwhelming
Yeah,
number,
absolutely.
yeah.
if you show this Pac-Man eating the rest of the
Yeah,
chart.
I almost feel like 28 should be its own
Yeah.
slide.
I think it should be the
Yeah, I
last
think it's the
slide. I
last
think it should be the last slide,
Yeah.
to leave that thought in their minds before public speak. Yeah.
I think you go into it from what the qualities you're looking for and maybe talk about, like you were saying last time we met about the latency, sort of doing a little bit of education on what you think is actually, slowness is actually this other thing,
Right,
or
cool.
what you interpret as.
All right. So it's yes on 27 and 28, and 29 gets combined with 26.
And that's it.
Gets combined with 24. Okay, cool. Great.
Okay.
All right. So I'll draft out by Thursday or Friday.
So, also, I did see that there were some edits. I think Stan dived into most of them to the document. Did anybody look at those?
I looked at them, I never got time to go back and make changes. Yeah.
Is it possible to share it with the group without having everybody comment on it? Like, or would you
If you
say?
shared a non-editable link, that would probably be okay.
I think-
Or just don't discuss.
Yeah, let's do that. Like, let's circulate it internally,
Okay.
and
Four
then
of us.
Yeah.
we can once we've got something.
Yeah, I'd like
we've
to for
internally.
the second.
Yeah, that we
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
I mean, it can be part of the agenda for whatever.
Right.
Or we can put it.
Yeah.
There.
So.
Okay.
No, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I'd like to come in on the second with a marked up copy or of both the slides, and so we're not starting from scratch.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we should do that as often as possible.
Good.
Okay, so let's just,
Thank you.
to recap, things we need to do include reaching out to Barb to postpone the meeting, and then also to schedule a meeting tentatively for the 11th, if the 11th doesn't work, for the 16th.
Have we publicized it anywhere?
No,
No.
No, we've
So
not.
only
other
those.
than it being on the public
I was gonna
calendar.
say other than.
Yeah, so let's,
But we should create a Facebook event for it.
yeah, we'll create a Facebook event, and then everyone like really push it out. I'll publicize it on my city council page. I'll get the mayor and a couple of the other city councilors to also publicize it.
All right, I want to get all this Facebook event,
Yeah,
Yeah, I can do that.
Facebook groups, I'm assuming.
yeah. I'll reach out to the Gazette as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed there was an announcement in some section for that this was like some soccer thing, and I was like, oh, I hadn't. They announced some soccer clinic in the paper without doing a paid advertisement. So I wonder if there's some way of like there's some news briefs, local news briefs that they.
Yeah.
I think they would even write a little article about it, probably.
Yeah,
All right.
Content's content.
yeah.
The
Especially
mayor
if we
would
gave
be
you some charts
included
and
under
graphs.
Easthampton Media, like during her monthly speak thing, or?
I think so. She's
I think
been
she will.
considering getting us on there for. She does like a weekly update.
So I'll
And
just-
there's a few weeks between then and now, so
Okay.
I can reach out to her tonight or I'll see if I can reach out to her tonight about that. And if you don't hear back from me in a couple of days, just follow
And
up.
the city of
Should I-
Easthampton page, we should
Yeah.
definitely use that. Okay.
Should we follow up and see if we can get those survey results posted on the municipal site once we have a PDF or this, of...
Yeah, I think it'd be great to do that in advance of the meeting, so that, in fact, I could even get, so there's like folders on the site, so I can make sure that we, or somebody could make sure that we have our own folder, and that once this is a PDF, that goes up there.
We should have it on the.
We have our
the-
page too. We have our committee page.
Yeah.
Right, which we should put it on that. It should be on the City of Easthampton Facebook page, and it should probably be on the website as long as he's well enough, handle all that, or whoever's handling it.
The city page.
It wouldn't.
I think,
Or post to.
I think
mayor's
that
assistant
Lindsay,
or-
the mayor's assistant.
Oh, okay, good.
So,
Who's the IT guy again? I forgot his name.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I didn't say it. 'Cause
Wayne,
I was like,
it's been a few months.
that
and-
dark spot.
But yeah, I know he would be more than willing to help us.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, okay. All right, City of Easthampton Facebook page and city website. All right.
I just have to
Do we,
identify.
do we like try to reach council on aging and do those things? I really think that.
yeah, I can. Well, yeah. Let's try and do that. I mean, I think this, by the way, is stuff that we can discuss. Like,
Right.
this is not open meeting law violation stuff to be like, hey, can somebody reach out to the Council on Aging? We don't need to take a vote to do that.
Even if we came out with a poster and put it up there, put it
I'll
up,
put it on,
ECC.
on like in there for all.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool, yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
All right.
I was going to say, we could take the addresses we do have and plot them on Easthampton. We could get a density chart or density map of like where the people who want to be involved or who want to be an early adopter, if they said they
Yeah.
would do it, that show.
Yeah, that would
Send
be,
that over to me, and I could try and put it over like a block map of Easthampton, so that we're not pointing at specific houses.
Yes, right, yeah, exactly. It would be more like collect the dots
Yeah.
and then you'd put like
Yeah.
a big dot.
once the presentation is a little more firmed up, I mean, I could do a poster and then we could also put it in the Big E and other places where everybody will see it.
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
Okay, that works, all right.
So.
Yeah, it's got community boards.
Well, Big E is probably the biggest community board in the city hall,
Right,
obviously has them
exactly.
upstairs, so, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, so this all sounds great. Let's just like try and be. If things are quiet, like
I
let's
live at 281 Main Street, everyone.
knock
You can come to my door.
There you go.
I'll follow up with an email in a day or two and just say I'm alive and working on this.
good.
Great.
And then I'll,
So
Put your email in the back.
Any new business?
So,
actually, well, are we done with this?
I'm good.
I think we have a good plan in place.
Great. I have a bit of new business I want to run by the group, and we can't talk about it too extensively, but I want to just pitch this idea out. In our September 2nd meeting, I would like to try, and it's possible that they won't be available, but I would like to, if everyone's okay with this, I'd like to reach out to the mayor, the city solicitor, the police, which is our lawyer, the police chief, and the fire chief, and try and get them to attend the meeting, to have a conversation that basically the idea is this would basically make this a kind of late meeting, because so there might be actually some value in doing this in October instead. That's what I really want to get you guys' opinions on. So here's basically what's going on is I was hanging out at the Brass Cat and I ran into Mike Tosnick, the first mayor of Easthampton, and he suggested that if we're really interested in this, I should look at the contracts that we have with all the pole owners, because the poles are owned by Charter by Eversource and by Verizon, but they're all on city land, and whenever they want to put a new one on, the city council has to take a vote, and there's certain stipulations in that agreement that lets them put another pole in place. It turns out that one of the agreements is that they reserve a space on the poles for police and fire signal wires.
It's a little more broad than that.
It's kind of, it's weirdly like, it initially says that, and then at the bottom says that it can be used only for municipal use, and it's.
But like we are a municipal.
Well, so this is why, guys, we can't discuss like I don't want to get too much, but there's you can all, by the way, I can send something out to you guys, but like there's language right now. It's kind of tricky language, but it basically says that for at least some municipal uses, they have to keep a space free, and the implication in that, of course, being that if they haven't kept a space free and the city of Easthampton ever wanted to use the poles in that way, that it would not be on the city to pay for all that make ready, which, mind you, is the single largest cost in implementing a system like this.
Indeed.
So, what I would really like to do is, first of all, I'd like to, like, I sort of want to do a brainstorming session. You know, what I want to figure out basically is what sorts of agreements, broadly, could a future municipal light plant enter into, either with the public safety specifically or with the city more broadly, that would give them access to that right of way. Because the second that they have that, then the cost numbers that we're talking about here change very dramatically, if that's possible. If that's possible. So
I think the biggest question there is the solicitor. Because I think a legal opinion on these is going to be what translates it into what
It will be challenged.
what is doable and
yeah, no, it absolutely would be, and that's really the question. Is like,
So
you know,
should
Is
we,
that language in place for every pole that's been established,
Yes.
or was it started in the 90s and there's poles from the 70s that aren't covered under that?
as far as I can tell, it's in all.
according to the clerk, yeah, it's every poll.
I would suggest that we don't muddy the waters in September and also give these city officers an extra month, so do this in October.
Okay, then how about this?
I mean, you can start
And also, yeah,
feelers, but
Yeah.
yeah, and for what it's worth, also, we don't like it's Labor Day, and there's a pretty good chance that some of those folks are gonna
Yeah,
be out at
right.
barbecues or something.
So we
So.
wouldn't get them anyway,
So here's what I'd like to do is I'd like to draft up like a formal letter to all those people from us
Yes.
stating, here's what these contracts say. We're really interested in what sort of arrangements a potential municipal light plant, we can potentially vote on that. I could submit that as new business in September. We can vote on that and in September, and then send that out. That will give the public safety folks and the solicitor a month to sort of chew on that. And then in our meeting in October,
Right.
we can dedicate that meeting solely to that purpose and see if we can't
That's-
come up with 2 or 3 different potential arrangements that could survive a court case.
It's,
Do we have any ability to sort of call on the lawyer, the city lawyer, to investigate?
The only people who can do that are the mayor and the city council president,
Oh,
but I can reach out to
but
the
we
mayor.
can make a request to each.
Yes, I can reach out to the mayor and to those folks and say, we'd like to invite you, and we'd like to request that you bring this matter to the city solicitor, and that the city solicitor attend if possible.
Right.
And then,
Because we might need a sort of more formal legal opinion on this.
By the time that we roll it out,
Oh,
we absolutely will.
well
need it.
before that,
Yeah.
I think.
But it's a perfect segue
Yeah.
from the public meeting to getting the city on board, and then November, it's actually gonna be on the ballot.
Yeah, November will be on the ballot,
So
and
it's like boom,
yeah.
boom, boom. I think it's a
You're
great
right.
idea.
because if at that point that we figure that out, and we either figure out that it's not going to work and that it would be stupid to even try, or then we are back to where we are right now, where we already we're saying this looks promising.
The entire premise wasn't built on that.
Right. So it's not too risky, but I think that if we could find out that
It could be a big bonus.
It's
tremendous
really
amount
big,
of cost we could
if
cut
it's
down.
indeed true,
Or even like,
Or at least
Yeah.
use it as a bargaining chip.
yeah,
Yeah.
Leverage, yes, leverage
Right,
is
yeah.
always good.
then we might find ourselves in a situation that,
Not we, but the whoever.
No, that's really good. I'm glad you found that. Did the research.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to see the language before the next meeting, so.
yeah, I
We
can,
have that, don't we? We've already.
I mean,
we
it's-
looked at the contract as like one of the first or second meetings.
The charter
We have
contract,
the charter
yeah.
contract.
Right.
But we don't.
Oh,
the
no,
charter-
that's not-
the charter.
yeah,
I'm
the
sorry,
charter
that's
contract,
different than the
yeah.
whole.
Yeah, but it's gonna be.
I have it on my phone, so I can
Yeah, just-
I can
just
send it
first.
out to everyone.
That would
Try
be
and
great.
remember to do that tonight.
Good.
That's my only new business I'd like to
It's
introduce.
important new business.
Just to clarify, I won't make a specific agenda item for that.
I will write up a quick letter with our official letterhead that we can send out to like everyone, and we can put that as new business on the next
Okay.
meeting to just say,
But it needs to be called out as an item for us to
Yeah,
vote on,
for
right?
us
It
to-
can't be just in the new business.
right, yeah. So like the idea is that it'll be there and we can have.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's what
Solicitor,
So
fire department, and police department. Great.
yeah, and the only thing I'd say beyond that is that just as a heads up to everyone, the language for a ballot question is currently in the Rules and Government Relations Subcommittee. That subcommittee will likely not be meeting this month because there's a lot of overlapping vacations being taken by its members. But probably early September, we're looking at a meeting. So if that's something that anyone would be interested in attending, it's an open meeting, you're more than welcome.
And the deadline for it being on the ballot is end of September?
Well, October
Okay.
1st is the day that it has to go on, but the last city council meeting is September 18th that month. So barring us having to call a special meeting, it'll be, October, or it'll be September 18th.
Okay.
I don't, given that that's the one thing, I did look into how Greenfield did it, because they had to actually do it, and for them, they put it on the ballot as a non-binding policy question, which means that we can do that too. So that's what.
Well, how could it be non-binding and yet you could create
Yeah,
an entity
like-
from it?
Yeah, I mean, it just I don't know. It worked for Greenfield.
Yeah,
That's fascinating.
is it not
I see
non-binding
what you're
unless
saying,
we want
non-binding.
unless we want it to be? Is that basically?
Doesn't force the creation, it gives
It
the
doesn't- right,
creation.
yeah.
I'm sorry, yeah.
It's an
Right. If they vote
Who
no,
would be responsible for, would the council then, or would the mayor?
I imagine that it would require both council and
Both,
mayor.
okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't put them on the spot, but it does give them some feedback from the city, rather than saying, yeah, we think this is a real good idea to move forward with it.
But even if it was a non-binding policy question and it didn't get 51% or however many percent, could the mayor and the council still choose
No,
to create
it
an
needs to
entity?
pass.
Okay,
It's a non-binding policy question, but it needs to pass.
okay.
Then maybe the
Interesting.
non-binding thing gives us the most flexibility.
I mean, that's just that's what. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And how long would that be? So if you choose a non-binding policy question, does that define, is there a term within which you have to act on it before you have to send it back?
there's
to
nothing in
vote?
the MGL to.
So you,
say anything
if
about
you
it,
could
so-
do it,
Yeah,
if we
30
30 shelf
years,
30
we
years from
decide
now,
to, yeah.
and say, oh, we're gonna. Wow.
As far as I can tell.
That's interesting.
Are you sure?
That's a weird. I'm surprised, right, that that's a valid use of a public policy question. But
The MG, yeah.
if Greenfield has kind of laid the groundwork for that,
Right,
as
that
a
was
legal-
literally, I was like, what should this be? Well, I looked
We
at
should do a
Greenfield.
history of non-binding policy questions that are still out there that have never been enacted. Like 1890s.
Because the whole thing is like, for cities, like the MGL gives a sentence on it, and it says like, it must pass the city council twice in 2 different years and then be ratified by the voters. So, it's like, so what does ratified, by the voters even mean? So I looked and, I looked on the ballot and it was there as, it said non-binding question number 1, should Greenfield blah, blah,
You
blah.
could probably enact some really retrograde policies if there are stuff out there that's been approved by previous generations and never been acted on.
Well, you still, the key here is you still need the existing elected officials to vote in favor of these things as well. You can't just use the non-binding question on its own.
Well, if you had a non-binding question, it was voted. I'm sorry, this is totally like not.
Well,
Yeah, anyway, we can take this off record.
Yeah. Fun times.
I think it's the fact that
So your mayor would
is
have to
then
still be
ratified
alive?
by, in the MGL, that is then ratified by the voters.
Yeah, the
Is
only question
what-
here
is
was
what
what
it applies to.
constitutes ratification
Right.
here, and according to Greenfield and apparently everyone else involved,
A public policy.
the policy question will do the trick.
Fascinating.
So,
Good find.
Excellent.
Good.
Is there anyone else who has new business? Is there a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
We are off.